Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for accepting my presentation and that I can present the data on aquatic warbler from the Polesie National Park. My presentation have two parts, optimistic and pessimistic.
I'm very sorry, Grzegorz, can you switch on the presentation mode?
Okay.
Oh, yes.
It's okay, it's better?
Just click it.
Okay, one moment. Now?
Now, very good, thank you.
Okay, okay. So, we are in Polesie. Polesie, a large area from Poland through the Belarus, Ukraine to Russia. Polesie can be called to European Amazon. In Poland, Polesie has two parts, Western Polesie and Wołynian Polesie. In Poland, it is not just a plain region, but a landscape at small hills and lowlands. I have a few photos and landscape around the Polesie National Park. Maybe will be good some aspect to maybe in the future some visit in Polesie National Park. This first part of Polesie, Polesie, it is a landscape with little hills and some interesting plants on Chełm hills. Carlina onoportifolda, it is endemic of European plant. Next one, it is mosaic of fields in the Wołynian Polesie area, filled with papaver plant. This plant dominates sometimes in this landscape. Another typical landscape with willows and wet meadows with many of colors and biodiversity meadows. In eastern side, in the eastern side of Polesie National Park is the beautiful and natural river Bug, and in western side is the Wieprz River with beautiful meadows and some little forests. Polesie National Park is located at Łęczna Włodawa Lakeland, where we can find wet forest with example Alnus glutinosa as dominant tree. Many wetlands ideal for haradiformes birds and fields with rich of agricultural plants, example papaver or another plants. So, Polesie National Park is located between the Chełm Hills and little small hills, Garb Włodawski. Yes, it is this located this national park. Park have two parts. It is big area on the northwest part. In second part, it is marsh, Bubnów Marsh and Staw Marsh. It is habitat of aquatic warbler. Yes, it is beautiful, very rare of birds, you know. Polesie National Park, it is important area to these birds. In Poland, largest population of aquatic warbler is Biebrza National Park. Polesie National Park, it is second most important area for aquatic warbler. It occurs about 14% of the country population and about 4% of world population in Polesie National Park. Typical, some pictures from Bagno Bubnów, typical breeding habitat of aquatic warbler. It is open area with carex plant dominates. Another, it is also typical habitats with aquatic warbler. These red points, there is these birds. Here is Calceolus and Phragmites plant dominates. Another, it is not typical, but it is not typical habitats to aquatic warbler, but it is typical habitat in Bubnów marsh. There is sometimes small hills rich in xerothermic plants, for example, blue Iris sibirica. In typical season, aquatic warbler habitats are dominated by typical plants and water up to 10 centimeters. Yes, it is structure of habitats to aquatic warbler, in my opinion, is perfect. But in 2020, there was a lot of water, and this meant that few males were found. The water level is some places was 20-50 centimeters. It is an important fact for the management of Polesie National Park about the proper management of water on there. In Polesie National Park, we have two methods for monitoring of population aquatic warbler. Monitoring on transect. Yesterday Krzysztof Stasiak from OTOP present data on this method. This method is okay, but the results of the transect method is only the number index. Another method, important method, is to count the males on the distribution on Bagno Bubnów marsh and Staw marsh. It is an important element in the management of aquatic warbler population in the Polesie National Park. From when we have some information about distribution and we know where is the aquatic warbler, what is effect of active of research in Polesie National Park. I started monitoring aquatic warbler in the Polesie National Park in 2004. Every year for 70 years, I have been monitoring the aquatic warbler population. After moving the aquatic warbler habitats, after, I am not sure, 2011, we have an increase in population to over 400 males. Yes, it is successful of this active research these birds in Polesie National Park. The male density is also stable, except in 2020, where when there was a lot of water. So it's not good information from another breeding sites of aquatic warbler. It is Marsh, calceolus marshes near home, in the monitoring area in Rozkosz Reserve, Rozkosz Nature Reserve. The aquatic warbler stopped nesting with about 50 years. It is also the effect of water. This reserve is poorly managed. I also study the phenology of aquatic warbler. For the last 2 years, I count seeing male every 7-10 days. So far, I have made 47 counts on the 2-4 kilometers transects. Male singing in Polesie National Park for 107 days. First male arrival 26 April, last male departure 11 August. There is preliminary results. I will continue this research in this year. From this data, it seems that aquatic warbler fly into streams, but it still needs to be confirmed. But there will be more research. The next season maybe will be much information about phenology. This is optimistic news, but this is where the optimistic news ends. We have a very serious threat to population of aquatic warbler in Polesie National Park. A national geologist, it is some department of Minister of the Environmental, issued a concession, the first concession one in 2014 and next 2014. This is the map for the exploration license. In the middle, the concession is Poleski National Park, Bubnów Marsh and Staff Marsh. It is very important information. Here is about 4% of world population of aquatic warbler. The concession also includes a national park, Ramsar area, international bird area, Nature 2000, nature reserve, and other forms of nature protection in Poland. Maybe it is good moment. I want to ask a lady from General Directorate of Environmental Protection, why is there a concession permit? Maybe will be to good moment to this question. About 1 kilometer from the border, aquatic warbler habitats, mining, drilling were made. It is another example. This driving tower was made near the Krowie Bagno Marsh. In this site is new information about aquatic warbler and Gallinago media. The company plans to build a hard coal mine near Polesie National Park. It is Australian company. You can check it on the company website. It is website from this, yesterday I visited this website. The company shows what it has been done, what is progress, and what is plan. We are, I think we are here, but it is very important information if will be this this plan mining license application. It is, I think, my opinion, end of habitat of aquatic warbler in Polesie National Park. The plans of building of hard coal mine are really serious. For example, there was hard coal mine celebration, but the miner and miners are not yet here. It is very interesting. Some idea to show to local people some this celebration. We have also local protest against coal mine near the Polesie National Park in the local, in the regional Radio Lublin. Local press is interested to environmental problems. Is some publication about this problem. Local and regional protest against coal mining near the center of Polesie National Park. It is some picture from this protest. We have also some resolution. It is example resolution from Faculty Biology and Biotechnology Maria Curie-Skłodowska University. Maria Curie-Skłodowska University, it is regional university. We have also a resolution from the Polish Botanical Society, and international aspect, we have also resolution of the International Mire Conservation Group. In conclusion, in close proximately about 11 kilometers to Polesie National Park, there is Polish coal mine, which still conducts exploring active from 1982 or 82. Australian investment is planned to be situated on the border of the Polesie National Park. There is a serious risk of possible destruction of breeding habitats of aquatic warbler. The plans for exploration of hard coal and construction of a new hard coal mine on the border of Polesie National Park are great example of failure of nature conservation in the 21st century. Polesie National Park is one of the protected areas under the Ramsar Convention. The convention does not protect the Polesie National Park in any way. In the nature protection law, changes should be made. Forms of nature protection that protect nature on the surface of the ground. Protected of nature, including inanimate nature under these forms of nature protection. There is a legal conflict due to the fact that the nature protection law protects only what is on the surface, whilst geological and mining law should be taken into account under the surface. We need more information about problems protection of wetlands birds in the example of aquatic warbler. We try to publish our data in scientific papers. Example is scientific papers, science. We have from these papers publication about this problem, and more publication. It is end of my presentation. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, Grzegorz. Please stop sharing this presentation, and we can open now the floor for discussion. Your information about the plans for coal minings, it's really ridiculous, and as you stressed, we can even, or you used to tell, that is the great failure of the nature conservation in Poland in 21st century, that it's still in process, the building or preparing for the building, the hard coal mine under the Ramsar site, under the biosphere reserve, in fact, core area of the biosphere reserve, national park, and SPA, and Natura 2000 site under the Habitat Directive. So one of the best protected area still are under the threat. So this is really the question. So I open the floor for discussion. Probably it will be dominated by the threats, but then I will have also my question to Grzegorz regarding the monitoring of the aquatic warbler on Bubnów and Rozkosz. Please raise your hands. If not, maybe I will start from my question. Maybe others will ask you later. So you have just shown that there are two monitoring methods, this transect count and these full counts. And it is very good example for me that these full counts are necessary to have the regular information about the site, about all the threats and the changes in habitats and dynamics. And I am very happy that at least in one area, in Bubnów, there is somebody who make this full count. So you are this person, because I will discuss this during the Aquatic Warbler Conservation Team meeting. In Poland, we introduced this transect counts, and they are very good, but it should be from time to time, every 5 years, this full counts done, because otherwise we will have no full picture of what's happened, because just transect on hell marshes, we are just receiving the numbers and trends, and that's nothing. And what's happened in Rozkosz Reserve is a good example. What is when we have no any information about details. So thank you for that. You are running this full counts in Bubnów. This is important for aquatic warbler, but of course also for information about the nature in the Polesie National Park. So we have now...
Thank you.
We have now two questions. There is Sylwia Gawrońska from the General Directorate Wetland Committee. You have asked her about this permission, but please don't ask the person who are not responsible for issuing permission. So, and within the Wetland Committee, we have discussed several times, but I will give the floor for Sylwia Gawrońska.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to just say that the permission and the concession is for research, not for exploration. So, of course, the General Directorate is not the institution who's getting the permission, and I think it's not forbidden by law to search for the coal. It's like the exploration and exploitation is another thing. So we haven't got any application for the exploitation, no environmental impact assessment, and no any application in this area. So I know that like the plans which would realize would be a tragedy for aquatic warbler, for national park, for Ramsar site, but until now there are threats, and that's good that you educate people and you say loud about the threats, but still the mine is not a fact, so we cannot do before any application come. We just have to analyze the documents we'll get. So that's for this side. And I have also actually nowadays we work with Ministry of Environment on some steps to protect organic soils, also bearing in mind the problem with the coal mine. But also I have a question about the water level in Polesie, because as far as I know, the groundwater level is going down, and no, it's not the case.
Now it is no problem. On the marsh is a lot of water in 2020. Mm-hmm. It is no problem from
one year is not trend. Actually.
I understand your question, your suggestion. Forgive me, my answer will be in Polish. To, o co pani pyta, to ja słyszałem od jednego z przedstawicieli głównego geologa, że jak będą zapadliska, to będzie więcej wody na Polesiu. Proszę pani, nie. Sorry.
Maybe I will translate it to the public. So this question about the water is very often raised by geologists, which claim that when they start to build the coal mine, there will be depressions, and then there will be more water on the Polesia within these depressions. But of course, it's not the case, and you can imagine even the Fenmeyer, so Bubnów-Meyer, will be covered by the water depression. So we will be Bubnów Lake instead of the Meyer. Mm-hmm. So this is the issue. But I will just also.
I don't suggest that the degradation of the habitat will be better for the national park. Yeah.
Definitely, I will just only respond to your question about the water, because it's true that generally in Lublin region there was very dry year last year. I know many of areas where normally I am going in the long rubber boots in waders, and last year I can walk just in normal shoes there. So there was no water on the Meyers at all. But there are some areas, and Bubnów is one of the lucky one, when this water is stable for a long time, The same is in Chełm marshes, and even as Grzegorz have stressed, in Rozkoszmajer is even too much water because of damming by beavers and other problems with water management. But it's some other issues. So generally the water conditions for Bubnów marshes and Poleski National Park, despite of drought, was okay, but it's an effect of other problems. So it's just so.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have two other questions. So Joanna Wołoszkiewicz, please take the floor, and then Krzysztof.
Thank you, Jarek. Thank you, Grzegorz. About the coal mine, we have talked already many times together. So I know this problem, and it's very. I'm very glad that that you are talking about it today, and thank you very much for your presentation. This case must be heard and seen, and I hope we can do something with that, because it's a disaster. And thank you also for your phenology study, because the mowing in our area, Lublin area, is before it was how to say, we were the mowing was considering apropos Biebrza data. And when I was in the field in Chełm marshes in Poleski National Park, I knew that it's not the same. The first brood, it's not in the same period. Second brood, it's not in the same period. But the aim of my study was different. So I didn't have this this study to show. And thanks to your study, your phenology study, we can prove that the mowing, the early mowing, for example, from the 1st August, it's not good for the aquatic warbler. So it would be good to postpone it even till 1st September, because in Polesie region it's not the same case that in Biebrza marshes. And also one word to Jarek. To Jarek. Sorry, you talk about transects counting and the whole counting. This is very important. And when I was in the field in Chełm marshes every day, and I was also doing the monitoring for OTOP, these 2 counts, I was so frustrated that the results on my counting for OTOP that I was obliged to give you was different from what I've seen every day, every you know how much time I spent over there. So yes, it will be very, very good to do this whole counting maybe not every year. I know that it's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of money also. But every 5 years, as you said, yeah. So good idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Krzysztof?
Yes. Firstly, we can say that Poleski National Park and Bubnów Marsh are very unique, because yesterday I was talking about the Ciesacin Marsh. Also, Joanna asked a question about this, because it is about 13 kilometers straight from Bubnów Marsh. And as in Bubnów Marsh, the water level was optimal and the condition was very good. On Ciesacin, there was almost complete lack of water this year, and the situation was very different. So this may be connected with Joanna's question about the Bogdanka hard coal mine. Also, it is information that Bubnów Marsh is very important, very unique, and needs a very big care to keep it in the state as it is. Talking about the monitoring, the monitoring scheme, the transect monitoring scheme is a kind of compromise between need of counting birds and the possibility to do it. The field count, overall count needs a lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of engagement of many people. And the transect count is much easier to make it. So there is a kind of compromise, and the results of the transect count are not as good and as precise as the field count and overall counting of birds. But we are trying to manage somehow the overall count, but still there is no possibility to do it as good as it was done years before. If there will be a possibility, we'll do it. But for now, we need to continue the transect count and the small sites count as it is, using the same methodology as it was when it was started, just to compare the results and have this kind of information about birds. I agree that the field count and counting every bird is the best and most important and the fantastic way to gather data, and the counting on transects will never fit this level.
Okay, thank you. But I don't agree with Krzysztof. I mean, it isn't true that it's just compromise, because the design of the monitoring is to have the transect counts every year, and it is now. But once every 5 years, it should be full counts. Maybe not total, but in many areas. And it is not true that there is no money. It is just bird distribution of money. And I think for such important species like aquatic warbler, we should have the full count every 5 years. So maybe we will discuss this during the Aquatic Warbler Conservation Team meeting, because it's very important. And for me, the example of Grzegorz of Bubnów Marshes is a good idea. Show how many information we can get to have these full counts. So once upon a time, every 5 years, we are rich enough to have this money, but we should distribute it in proper way. So that's my response.
Yes, and I say just what I hear as a coordinator of the monitoring when I ask for something like the overall count, and there are always some issues with it. And I would be very happy if the possibility to do it would happen. So yes, we should discuss it, and maybe we could make something to do it. Would be perfect.
Okay, thank you very much.
What is the reason for increase in the number on the bug in the main place?
In Bubnów, Bagno Bubnów, yes? Yeah. Grzegorz, maybe I will respond in your so the main reason is the proper management of the area. The Polesie National Park started to mow the mire according to agro-environmental schemes.
Every year?
Every year, but every year only a part of the area, and it is according to the needs of aquatic warblers. So every year, I don't know exactly what how big amount, but it's left, let's say half is left, or even 3/4 of the area is left unmown, and the part is mown. And in every year, there is different part of the mire. I have shown it already during my presentation, and you can see it on the Google Maps, that there are stripes of mown and unmown area. And this management, regular and proper management of the done by national park and good water conditions altogether affect in increasing of this number. And as we have already discussed, this so Director Szymański just announced on the chat that half is mown and half is left unmown. So it's exactly such. So now we have effect, and then the Bubnów Marsh serve as a source area for some smaller sites like this Ciesacin we have already told, and Krowie Bagno. I will tell about this later. So
what technique was used?
There are tractors. It's not necessary to have a rat track there. So double wheel tractors are there.
And start moving in August?
Probably the second half of August, but this is the question. May I ask Director to write on this? Because, you know, I am not following all these details.
And you moving biomass was used or not?
So mowing is in September, so we know now information. Biomass is just sold for farmers. Because of course it's not done by a park. They take biomass and this is just contracts with the local farmers every year. So it's a big logistic issue, but it's prepared by national park, but mowing is by contractors.
Thank you.
The national park is just renting 1,200 hectares within the national park. Okay, we should move on because we have another presentation. And this will be also on the national park about the research on aquatic warbler, on spatial behavior of aquatic warbler, relations between males. It's done by students of Professor Grzywaczewski, Julia Kral, and Joanna Potrykus. Who will present, who will give this presentation?
I'll try to share screen
okay.
in that moment, and I hope it will work. Okay, can you see the presentation?
It will start. Yes, already we have. So please use this. Yes, exactly. The presentation mode.
Okay. So we want to present you a presentation about aquatic warblers in Polesie National Park. We are students of animals behavior in our University of Life Sciences in Lublin. Aquatic warbler is still a relatively unknown species. A lot of questions about its biology and behavior remain unexplored. The bird has a very specific kind of singing, consisting of complex combinations of rattles and whistles. Our studies has to make its singing more understandable and to facilitate our studies on its behavior. We want to present you a beginning of our research. The purpose of our research will be to find key to identify male aquatic warbler. It would make it possible to deepen many studies and get answers for questions such as habits of males or relations between competitors or their spatial distribution on the breeding grounds as locations change. What is more, we'll try to check that the same male comes to the same place every year. This is the location of Polesie National Park and our Bagno Bubnów Marsh, and we can see the points where males were recorded by our Professor Grzegorz Grzywaczewski.
Yes, hello. And our methods. We recorded singing males in a marsh Bubnov, and for one male it was like 5 minutes. And we use program Audacity to create a library of aquatic warbler sounds. And when we find some new sound, we put to the library, and we have more and more analyzing data to identify the male. And every type of rattle and whistles has its own spectrogram and audio file. And what's more, every phrase of song is described but with number of syllables in phrase, and letter according to types of whistles or rattle. And a couple of years ago, Dr. Glapan wrote his doctoral thesis on the geographical variation of aquatic warbler singing. And the aim of his work was to show if aquatic warbler population from different regions, Pomeranian, Biebrza, Belarus, and Hungary, differ from each other and create dialects. And the results of the study showed that the bigger the differences, dialects are in larger population, like in Biebrza, for example. And encouraged by these results, we decided to go one step further and investigate the variation on individual singing. So according to Dr. Glapan, these are one song and one song. For each other, we differ in the moment of silence, and every song has a phrase, and we can talk about whistles and rattles. And whistles or rattles consist from 4 syllables, and the most small note of the syllable we are calling elements. And in the future, we would like to use a program when we able to find phrase by algorithm, individual phrase in algorithm.
And this is just the beginning of our research. Will continue this year. We would like to show you some examples of diversity of sound in aquatic warbler songs. We have rattles, and we have 2 types of this phrase. In a homogeneous rattle, we can see the same type of syllable, and in heterogeneous, the kind of syllable is changing. And we have 3 types of syllables. Wait a second. Okay. And whistle. During the analysis of just 6 recordings, we have 13 types of whistles, and they differ in the frequency, shape of syllables, and the number of notes in one syllable. We would like to show you the most interesting of them. For example, first male has this kind of song, and its specific combination of syllables. And we can hear that it's a really similar type of song, really similar combination of phrases. And we can hear the syllables. Okay. 10th male has a really characteristic end of his song. Often ends with M syllable. It sounds like that. And this male has a high variety of repetitive phrases. And here is a sample of his song. Seventeenth male. He uses many interesting repetitive phrases in his songs, but we focus on his rattle. It sounds more wavy than a standard one. There is a standard rattle and this wavy one. So there is a difference. We can hear that during analyzing the data. And he often uses syllable N and vowel at the end of his song. Okay, 8th male has a really characteristic whistle, like a lot of really short and dynamic whistles. It was a characteristic part in this male songs. And 25 male with his favorite composition of rattle with a pulsation like a four parts rattle and characteristic whistles. Every male has his own repertoire of songs, favorite syllables and phrases, and particular combinations of singing elements can be the calling card of an individual. Distinguishing the characteristic features of a male singing may allow identification in the future. This would allow us to learn more about the behavior of these species than has previously been possible. This is only the beginning of this research. We still think how to improve our methods and looking for ways to best achieve our goals. We are focusing on the issue of identifying males based on their singing because it has great potential.
Yes, and we think it makes us possible to know how the aquatic warbler relation each other. So when they are singing to other males, or they are singing because of the females, of the reproductive. And what is the environmental impulse for aquatic warbler? And how the Julia started is just the beginning of our studies. So if you have some questions or suggestions, we'll be grateful. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. First of all, I noticed that such dual presentation was very good. We have not planned this and it works very well, so thank you. Second, this is very important that they are a basic study on aquatic warbler, and we need research on all type of fields, including this acoustics. So I am very happy that you are carrying on this research. I understand that soon you will review detailed all the literatures about other species and use the methods and conclusion from other research to compare with this, what is with aquatic warbler. just looking from the conservation point of view, I can ask you a question, but I don't, if you can now answer it on this stage, because I realize that it's just the first years. How is the individual differences between males within one area, for example, this Bóbnów marsh, in relation between differences between Lublin, Biebsa, or Western Pomerania? If we can already tell about, let's say, Pomeranian dialect, or between, let's say, Lithuanian dialect, maybe there are also Belarusian or Central Ukrainian dialect. This is, of course, just a rough hypothesis, but the question is, do you think it is real, or such differences, individual differences within one area can blend with others, and in fact there is no differences on the larger scale? So this is the question. And how it is, we know from all such type of research in Europe and United States that local dialects are very pronounced in some species. So if the aquatic warbler just matched with this. So this is my question.
All right, so Dr. Glapan wrote that, for example, the Pomeranian population, it was in 2013, so the aquatic warbler in Pomerania was bigger than now, I think. So they singing like more rattles than whistles. On the other hand, on the Biebsa. Mm-hmm. But we don't know yet. We just studied on Bagno Bóbnów, and of course we come back this year to Bagno Bóbnów to recording the males and check that we know the places of last year, the males. So we come back to exactly the same places and check the males come back to exactly the same place, mm-hmm. and singing the same.
Before I will give the floor to Krzysztof, I will ask or just tell the only one of disadvantages that they are not individually ringed or marked. So then you will be sure that they are exactly the same male. So just consider to use this in some future. I don't know if it is possible within your time of preparing your thesis. So I'm afraid it's too difficult. But anyway.
Yeah, okay, it will be excellent to check that we are proper by rigging birds.
Krzysztof Stasiak.
Yes, the study is fascinating, and my question was already almost asked, because I would like to ask if in the group is any ringed male, so it could be its identity could be confirmed in the other way than by the voice.
So there is one person who can help a lot, who have the ringing license and like to ring, and maybe she will find the time. So Joanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jarek. Julia, Joanna, thank you very much for your presentation, and I wanted to emphasize that new young girls are in our Aquatic Warbler conservation team, so girl power, welcome, and I hope that you will be addicted to the species, and as I am, and good luck for your study, for your job. I hope it would be also your passion, because I know that this species is really really beautiful and working in the Meyer bagno wciąga, as we said in Polish. As Jarek, so really well done, good job, and you have a very good tutor, and so as Grzegorz, nothing to say more. As Jarek and Krzysiek said about ringing, I'm very curious if this is really like that that this is so individual. The song is individual for the whole life of the bird. I don't know it, but I have doubts. So the best way to check it, it would be to have a male that is ringed, and to hear and to observe if this is the same. So my ringing job in Bubnów was last time when I was pregnant. My first pregnancy, it was in 2016, and so I think that nowadays there are not many my birds ringed over there, but if you want, and if there's a need, I'm here, and I can help you.
Thank you.
So Joanna just rose the question if there is the same song every year of the individual males, and how we can check. But based on the methodology of science, better is just to compare it with other studies, because the study on vocalization of birds are quite well developed in other species. So just check in the literature if such stability of song in different years of the species of the individuals is really stable, and I assume it is. But you can check how it is in other species studied in Europe or United States, because there are most of such type of research. So I would recommend. Martin Flade.
Yeah, just a comment on the doctor thesis of Klappan. When I understood it right, then the variation within one local population is larger than the difference between populations. So he denied the hypothesis that there are dialects from the studied populations. And the second is that in other species, it's always possible to identify the birds by the song. Even in such species like bittern, for instance, you would say it's all the same booming, but there's a doctor thesis in Germany. It has proved that you can identify the bitterns by the booming, only by the booming, over several years. So I think it's even more the case in songbirds.
So it means that in case of aquatic warbler, we rather could not tell about dialects, so it will be not applicable to distinguish between populations, but as it can be very individual, so it is very important for future study on just one place and relationship within the population. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Now it's time for the last presentation, and it's a presentation prepared by Krzysztof and myself. Maybe I will just present it. So I will share the screen. Let's boom, boom. Okay, so as we have already stressed, and Joanna also showed that now we have also new members of Aquatic Warbler conservation teams. I am very happy because although I still feel that I am Jarek 15, but we are getting a little older within Aquatic Warbler conservation team. I am already a grandfather, and so other my colleagues. So it is very important that we have also younger generation and others. But this is the question for to be discussed during Aquatic Warbler conservation team meeting. And now at the very end, I would like to present the effect or idea of the project which we are running since few years, and why this symposium is within this project. We called it Strengthening of the Southeastern Metapopulation of Aquatic Warbler in Poland. And it is based on the idea of first metapopulation of Ilka Hansky, but also ecological corridors and stepping stones. So here is just one of the illustration of metapopulation structure. So we have different type of ideas of the areas of patch size or patch isolation between all this subpopulation of species, in this case of aquatic warbler. Very often we have such situations like here. So mainland and island, or source and sink areas. And we assumed that in Poland, and not only, but in case we are working in Poland, we have this large source populations, like, for example, Bubunów Myers, and smaller sink or this island population of aquatic warbler. As the project where we have prepared, developed the application was within the call of EU Cohesion Fund for landscape corridors in Poland, we should adjust our ideas to this call, and we want to connect the source areas, large source areas in Lublin region, so in Polesie National Park and Hell Marshes, with the smaller areas of aquatic warbler we have recorded in Lublin. And of course, within the landscape, within the ecological corridors, we have two types. We have a linear corridor, which is generally river valleys or forest tracks, but we have also so-called stepping stones. So step after step, the areas of the similar habitats, which can serve both as a breeding habitats for aquatic warbler, or for dispersion, or for migration. So we want to protect it, and In 2014, working together with the General Directorate of Environmental Protection in Poland, we prepare such study about the analysis of linking of eastern sites of aquatic warbler with western population. This is of course not aquatic warbler sites. They are just a layer of the peatlands from Poland, which are the proxies of this search for connection between eastern and western Poland. And when we have discussed the idea together with two OTOP staff members, Krzysztof Stasiak and Justyna Choroś, who work to develop this project, we just prepare such map of the corridors linking, for example, Polesie National Park with some areas where aquatic warbler was recorded in Tyśmienica Valley, then also in Wieprz River Valley, and so on. Then we connect also Chełm Marshes with Bug River and Polesie National Park with Bug River valleys, according to some linear and stepping stones. So, project criteria, how we select the areas for this project. As it was for regional corridors, so we should be regional. So we choose the Lublin region, Lublin Voivodeship. It is in line with aquatic warbler local corridors, mostly river valleys, stepping stones. And on working on maps, Krzysztof just has chosen suitable habitats for aquatic warbler, wet meadows, switch sedge, fen mires. Within, we have chosen the 3 sites which should be possible to enhance this habitat by stabilizing or increasing the water level. But and it was of course effect of the limited budget. We could not work on large scale, only in a smaller scale. So we have chosen 3 sites, and other sites with proper habitat. We prepare some kind of recommendation of proper sustainable use for farmers, for local communities, for local governments. It is more or less the same idea as Władimir announced yesterday about this passport for this small site. So it's exactly the same way. So this is the site selection. So metapopulations of aquatic warbler, this red diamonds are the source population, Bubunów Majer and Chełm Marshes. These open diamonds are known aquatic warbler sites. Not all fell into these corridors. They are not always in line with our theory. And then project site was chosen by our expert knowledge and analysis of maps along Wieprz River and some other ecological corridors. So it was just best guess, in fact, we should tell, based on expert knowledge and work on maps. And we have chosen the areas where only few of them were known breeding sites of aquatic warbler, and not all. So there are the names of this area. And we have chosen 3 of them after more detailed research for restoration. It is the area called Holeszów. This is a small river valley called Hanna River Valley. It is tributary to Bug River. Then is the Krowie Bagno, Krychów Krowie Bagno. This is on this area which were, I will explain you, close to National Park, to the Polesie National Park. And the last one is Kamień. It's calcareous mires, drained, but in vicinity of the Chełm marshes, and still retaining the good characteristics with some remnants of cladium mires. So we consider, and we make such research, so we subcontract the botanists who prepare such feasibility study of restoration, and the effect was that after rewetting, we can consider the increase of the cladium mires on this area. So there are these 3 project sites, and so we have the project site borders and also area with increased water level after dams which we have prepared to set there. This is the timeline of this project. So we make monitoring of aquatic warbler, but not only, of all species on these areas. As we consider this the project for mire restoration, not only for aquatic warbler, we consider the aquatic warbler as an umbrella species for all wetland breeding birds. And so we make this monitoring also for all other birds. So the first 2 years, there was the selection of project areas. At the beginning, we chose 23, and in effect, we took 10 for this recommendation and 3 for restoration. And I should stress that the choice of these 3 sites were both from ecological reasons, so the place we consider the best, but also from pragmatic reasons. For example, we haven't took the good areas for restoration, which can be in Tyśmienica River, from pragmatic reasons, which is very important for Poland and many other countries where the land is belonging to landowners, and we were working only or mainly on the private areas. So we should first to meet with all the farmers, we should discuss with them, we should convince them that we will not transfer their property to such way that they cannot use it. So in fact, we should find some compromise. So for example, we are not rewetting it by full water. We only build the structures which can store the spring waters, but then the waters can be removed via drainage channels on the time of mowing, when necessary, of course. It's not always necessary. So this is a compromise, but it's only in this way we can access to this land, to this private land. So it took a long time for discussion with farmers, and we should have written permission of every farmer to build the structure and then to have it for at least 5 years after the project. So it was quite long. Then there was the long time of the preparations of all permissions or works to plan this construction and so on. And then we are just now, in fact, today, there is the first meeting in the field with already the company who will build this dam in this year, in the next 2 weeks. By the way, how we make inventory in this area, and when we start to make this monitoring, there was only one site within the chosen areas where there was aquatic warbler recorded. But when we were regularly in the field, in proper place, in proper time, so happened that 2 of these new sites where never the aquatic warbler was recorded, started to appear that it is the new good aquatic warbler site. So we have discovered, by the way, 2 new sites for this species. Besides of aquatic warbler, there are any other species typical for wetlands, regularly recorded on different sites within this project. So just some information about this site. So this is the new aquatic warbler areas. This one is Polesie or Hanna River Valley. The picture on the left-hand side shows these wet areas during the spring on the meadows. And on the right-hand side, we have the aquatic warbler site where the singing male was recorded in this area. Another new site discovered is in Krowie Bagno. And I will explain you in more detail this site because it has some historical background. It's in vicinity of the Polesie National Park, and as you can see, the habitat looks very well for this species. And Krzysztof have discovered 2 singing males, probably more even in this area in one of this year. Krowie Bagno was one of the largest fen mire in Lublin regions, 25 square kilometers, but it was drained in the drainage campaign in 1970s. Just before drainage, there was the expedition of Professor Dyrcz and Wrocław University researchers, and they make detailed monitoring and census of birds in the area. And Krowie Bagno was the stronghold of aquatic warbler with 5 singing males per 10 hectares. And one of the biggest sites known during this time in Poland. But it was, in this time, there was no power to stop such investment. And it was just the flagship investment for Poland, for communist Poland. And the area was drained and converted in milk and honey area of Krowie Bagno. But then as it used to happen with communist investment, it was just abandoned and overgrown. And at the 1990s, it was possible to purchase some areas, and I will explain later. But in early 2000, when we joined EU, the part of the areas were declared as Natura 2000 sites. But maybe later I will explain you the history. In 2003, we started to make a project about the conservation of remaining not drained areas, because some areas were too difficult to drain. And we contact during this time with the foundation Euronatur from Germany, who was happy to finance the purchase of some habitats there. And we aim in 2003 to purchase some plots on Krowie Bagno to further conservation. This area we consider to buy. It is the lake which were overgrowing by vegetation and was surrounded by forest. Normally, it was very open landscape during before drainage, but then everything overgrown, including this lake surface. So it was in 2003, it looks like that. Here is young Gabriel Schwaderer walking through this very dense vegetation during that time. So we have meeting with Professor Hans Josten and some other colleagues from Greifswald University in Krowie Bagno on these areas which were undrained, and here we have other type of landscape. Unfortunately, in early 2000, we have no good experience in such type of business, and there were other bodies who were more clever and purchased this land before of us. So we failed with this project on Krowie Bagno. Instead, with using this money, we bought part of the Ciesacin Mire, so it was not spoiled. But anyway, even all this project was not totally failed, because we make very detailed research in early 2000s. And based on that, we prepare this plan for a Natura 2000 sites. So as I have seen, I've shown you, there was the Natura 2000 sites declared there. And the farmers were informed about the possibility of the using of the agro-environmental schemes. So then I want to show you some problems on conservation story of this area, which is now covered by our project, because as I told you, it was the overgrown lake surrounded by forest, which overgrown this area after 30 years of abandonment. And during the time, it was quite dense vegetation. It was forested by alnus. Previously, it was just Fenmeyer and even Molinia meadows. The owner of this area, based on the agro-environmental schemes, decided to clean this area totally. It was a quite radical measure discussed among us. We were not very sure it is a good idea, And I am showing you just to discuss if it is such radical measure we can consider. But as we have now effect in return of aquatic warbler there, so I think we can claim it's good. We can consider this. So you can see that in 2015, sorry, I will return back. So we have, I use the Google Earth technology, and we have here the map from 2006. Here is from 2010, so nothing happened. Only here there was more water. Now it's even more overgrown. And then the farmer, the landowner, start to remove the bushes and trees, even quite mature alnus and birch trees. This is 2015. In 2016, it's already finished around the lake. Sorry. So this is the picture I take on land in 2014. So it's just this vegetation around the lake and all the steps of deforestation of the area. And most of these trees were turned into wood chips. And then the farmers went into 2 agro-environmental schemes. So within the mire of the lake, which is now completely overgrown, and it's just transitional mire structure there, he can apply, and he applied to the package for the peat bog and mire protection within agro-environmental schemes. It's very good schemes for a landowner, because it's normally, you are paying for doing nothing, but it might be crazy, but it's very important for habitat protection, because then all owners are just protecting this area. They are removing trees and bushes when needed. It's of course always according to agro-environmental analyzing of the experts, which is necessary. But in this case, we can just help to protect the areas on this private ownership. And around this lake, there are Molinia meadows now developed, and he entered the package for protection of Molinia meadows. So he make quite radical actions just to cut the forest, in fact, but then turned into the Fenmire. So my question is how you like it, if you have objections against such type of approach. Anyway, we have included this site into our project because there were rumors about the aquatic warbler in surroundings, and exactly this place looks very good for us from habitat point of view. And then Krzysztof discovered the singing males in this area. So according to our plan, we will raise the water level around the lake, and then we can have better hydration of this Molina lake. Some of the areas will return to the sedge mire. So I think it is a good idea to follow up. So we have done within the project up till now, project sites were selected. We make detailed habitat and botanical surveys. We have agreement with landowners, which is very difficult but possible. Then there was ornithological monitoring conducted in these areas. we make very detailed and necessary agreements, permissions, and documentations for dam constructions. And as I told you today, Sława Wałęsiuk and the coordinator of this project are on place with the construction company to start building the dam. And there was, of course, within the project, the modeling of the water level on the meadows. This is this Hanna River Valley, and the effect of damming done by modeling of the water flow on this area. And as I told you, it is mainly for the spring. And the problem is that still the farmers cannot carry out the aquatic warbler package in this area because it's not allowed according to agro-environmental schemes. So I already raised this issue, and we can discuss among us during the aquatic warbler conservation team meeting. But we agreed with them that they are leaving some areas unmown for aquatic warbler, and we are working with them. So we hope that aquatic warbler will take advantage of such work. So what we should done, we should finalize gathering all documents and for building dams on these 3 sites, a recommendation of sustainable use for 10 sites. We should make the last full count of aquatic warbler and other species, and then finalize the project. So what is expected results of the project? First, we will increase the water level in 3 project sites. Long-term effect of drying prevention of these areas. We hope that aquatic warbler will return to the sites and we will use these sites. And of course, there will be better habitats on 10 other sites where we will work with farmers, landowners, and local administration and preparing these recommendations for them. In effect, there will be better connection between subpopulation within this southeastern metapopulation of aquatic warbler, and habitat enhancement will result in better state of protection for all other wetland birds. At the very end, I want to stress that we took advantage from the latest call for Horizon 2020 for European Green Deal, which was the call for upscaling of the restoration effect of different restoration projects. And we joined the Institute of Soil Science in Puławy, who was the coordinator of this project within the Europe. And we add these 2 areas. One is from the current project to this, as we plan to upscale this area of restoration within this project to adding additional dam in Hanna River Valley. But now we are waiting for results and assessment of this Horizon 2020 project. So thank you for your attention. I would like to ask you for discussion comments. I can see already that Władimir is raising hands, and then Zimantas. So I stop share, and then let's start the discussion. Władimir was the first, as far as
Yeah, Jarek,
okay, sorry, maybe Krzysztof here, not the
the only one thing to add to all this fantastic lecture, Jarek mentioned mostly in the process of choosing the sites for the project. Jarek mentioned mostly the process of map analyzing and analyzing all the available data, but also after choosing some potential places, it was about 23 land patches in the region. It took about 200 days of field work, checking all those places for about 7 to 8 times each during the almost 2 years to estimate the most optimal places for dams building and those 10 places where we could prepare the recommendations for sustainable use.
Okay, exactly.
This detail.
Thank you for adding this. Exactly. It was not just working only on the map, but then it was following by field research. Exactly. So, Wadzia, floor is yours. Wadzimir.
Thank you, Jarek. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see and we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much for this promising beginning of restoration of aquatic warbler habitats. I think this project can be upscaled all over the species breeding range because there are lots of abandoned and overgrown and degraded habitats, and it's very, very, very promising. I have 2 points, one about clarifications about your presentation, and second about clarification about the situation in Belarus. So the first one, you mentioned the recommendations with given to land owners. So how the implementation of this recommendation is secured? This is the first question. And the second question is about financing of restoration measures. What are the financial instruments for restoration of hydrology, for removal of vegetation, and for further maintenance of the site in a suitable condition beyond the project end, I mean?
So may you repeat the second question, because I don't understand to the very end the question.
Mm-hmm. So the second question about financing mechanisms of restoring hydrology, I think it's within the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second, financing removal of vegetation, of cutting trees. This is also done within the project, I guess?
No.
No. Okay.
But I will explain. Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the third, financing of maintenance of habitats in a proper condition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Within the project and beyond the project. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And after your answers, I would like to come back to Belarusian part for 1-2 minutes.
So I will start from the first question about this recommendation and sustainability of using this recommendation by farmers, landowners, and so on. Definitely, it's just it's not the legal paper, and it's just a recommendation. So we are aware that it will be not fully followed by farmers, by also administration or local administration. So within this recommendation, we use existing obligation strategies and incentives. So we will explain first of all the value of this area to consider for special planning, for example. Then the future strategies, including the restoration of mires within the strategy of European Union for biodiversity. Then we include all current plans for a rural development program of European Union in Poland in this case, because within new CAP, new Common Agriculture Policy, there are a new strategy, which is also linked with the biodiversity strategy, farm to fork strategy, which includes several mechanisms for maintenance of the wet areas. Even in this year, I mean 2021, and there is a preliminary one-year measure which can support flooded meadows. Before this year, farmers should mow every year according to the scheme, and then have problems with paying agency when they are not mowing on the flooded areas. So it makes some stupid problems sometimes that, but I will not go into details. And now farmers which are having meadows in floodplains and the area will be flooded can get the money even if they are not done any management there due to such way. So there are some incentives which help keeping meadows wet also for long term during the season. And we want to, in this recommendation, we can use all agro-environmental measures, new methods also in Common Agriculture Policy called eco schemes, and all that will be presented there. So this is about the recommendation, and then the financing of all measures. So as I told, the building of the dams are of course only possible within the project because it's require big money, even for small dams. As we were working mainly on managed land, so there was not necessary to remove vegetation. They were not overgrown because the farmers already remove it before. I showed this Krowie Bagno as an extreme example of a very extreme management, just to cutting already established forest on the mire. But it was done, as I told, by farmer, his invention, and then as he wants to enter the agro-environmental scheme. So these incentives were the driving force of his action there. And I know that it's not the only case. There are other such actions in Lublin region, and probably not only. So we sometimes doubt it is a good idea just to remove already established forest, but I think in this case it helped a lot for open mire species, both for birds, for dragonflies or other species of animals, but also for orchids and some others which were on overgrowing land. And what is the sustainability of the actions? Of course, it is we have chosen the area which are so-called marginal land in Poland. I mean, they will be never transferred, I hope, will be not never transferred into the intensive agriculture. So most of these farmers are not real farmers. I mean, they are not producing. They are usually taking advantage of the EU subsidies. So this might be criticized, but it is good situation for nature conservation if we have subsidies which support sometimes, as I told, doing nothing just to protect the ownership where there is the Fenmeyer. So the sustainability of the action is secured into 5 years agreement with farmer, and he will keep the agro-environmental schemes on this land. So this is response, and we have three other.
Sorry, I would like to finish with the second part.
Okay.
As finalizing the issue of agreements with Polish landowners and the issuing passports for aquatic warbler habitats in Belarus, it might be a similar mechanism that, just to underline specifics, that in Belarus it might be even easier due to the lower number of land users. It is easier to go through formalities. There are mainly 3 types of land users in aquatic warbler breeding sites. It's forestry or agricultural enterprises and or local community. And each patch is quite big. So within this land patch, you may secure protection regime favorable for the species. The adverse side that there are 2 parts in this passports, in this agreement, in this protection certificate. As for limitations, no drainage, no using chemicals, no overgrazing and stuff, that's quite okay. If we talk about forestry, they will not move, they will not mow mires anyway. So that's pretty simple. As for the second side, recommendation of active management, this part lacks funding. So we can recommend, but we do not have financial mechanism to make sure the habitat is properly managed. So that's important part. So it's quite important. It's quite easy and effective to establish limitations, but there are no financial mechanism to make land users to maintain the habitat.
Yes, exactly. We have, in fact, the same situation in Poland. Also, we have some mechanism, these agro-environmental schemes, but not all farmers are willing to join this. And we know, for example, in Tyśmienica River valleys, that many of farmers are not using it and using these wet meadows intensively because they have the cattle there and so on. So of course we have some mechanism, but it still require a lot of work for us to persuade the landowners, farmers to do that. And the good advantage of Belarus, which we know from, for example, rewetting, that as large areas are state-owned, if you have already agreement, you can make very large areas suitable for rewetting, which is not the case in many Western countries. So this is our problems, and we should negotiate with dozens or even sometimes hundreds of landowners to have such permissions. Okay, there are 3 other persons, maybe ladies first. Sylwia Gawrońska from General Directorate rose her hand, so please.
Hi, very short, just 2 comments. Jarek, you repeated twice that the farmers got payment for nothing, and actually I think that we should change the narration and story, and because there is no payment for nothing, there's payment for ecosystem services delivery, and I think we should talk about this, that the farmers who let the meadows stay dry and stay flooded, they deliver services for society, and they don't get money for nothing. And the second thing that's about the forest clearing. And in 2010, when you show one of the first map, I would have no doubt about the cutting. But today, when there is a climate crisis, and when we still weigh the CO2 emission, I think for the future we have to be very careful in this kind of investments, because the forest they appeared because of the water regime disability. That's so the water level should be rose, but of course that would take like 10 or 50 years to stabilize the ecosystem for longer. And you did it much faster. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I totally agree that you correct me. This was maybe not official, but in fact, I am now officially presenting this, and it is recorded, and then it will be repeated that I told I name it to doing for nothing, paying for nothing, for doing nothing. But I totally agree. But please note that it is very often discussed among all the conservation projects also in the forest that very often it's reasonable to have some incentive for paying of landowner of not transferring some goods into a more intensive one. So it's good to have such subsidies. And I, first of all, I'm good, very supportive for such type of subsidies, but totally agree that we should not name it, especially in such official place like here, that is just paying for nothing. It should be stressed that is paying for ecosystem services and as it is. So thank you for that. And of course, we can discuss about of this removing of forest. This is it is why I show you and show as a point of discussion pro and contra of such type of approach. I think in small scale to save such open landscape like Fenmayers, it has some reasons. But and it will probably not be in a larger scale. But as you can see, for example, from Decoy Meyer's last presentation from yesterday, most of them are already overgrown by forest, and then we can discuss what is better for climate or it is better for biodiversity. So it's always we should look for any compromise. Okay, next question is from Joanna Włoszkiewicz.
Thank you, Jarek. Just little comment or maybe a question about krowie bagno, because you are in your project you want to make the sites with more water. And what about pit mine that are in the western part of krowie bagno, and year by the year the surface of digging is bigger and bigger? And what do you think about it? And are there some ideas or to deal with this problem? Because in my opinion, the impact of the water level in krowie bagno, it is connected with digging of pits over there.
Yeah, I can explain you or discuss with you about this pit mining. First of all, they are very distant. I mean, this pit mining is on dry areas with very degraded part of the Krovian Bagno, unfortunately, because it was drained quite thoroughly. So we have not make any research, but we assume that there is no big impact of this pit mining on the western side with on the effect on this restoration on the eastern side of Krowie Bagno. It is, I don't know, but it's several kilometers distance. If this is the one problem. The second, this is individual pit mining, which of course used some tricks and loopholes in the legal systems, because it's legally announced not as a pit mining, but it is building of the fish ponds.
Yes, I know. I know that. So
yeah,
and
it's of course was very many times discussed. For example, on the advisory board of the Polesie National Park and other bodies that it should be stopped, but still there is no legal way to stop such, because the owners have just permission for building of the fish ponds there. So it's completely crazy and stupid. But from the other side, when we have discussed with the naturalists, some of the naturalists are very happy of such development, because, for example, all this of this ponds of this area, because it's not, you know, it's not industrial pit mining like we have in some areas in Poland, and especially then in Lithuania or Belarus. It's just individual pit mining. And the area, the wetland created there, they are very valuable for dragonflies. So all dragonflies experts are very happy for that. And there are a lot of birds breeding now there. So there is another side of this. So this is really controversial issue, but I think it has nothing to do with this, what we have in the eastern part.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Jarek.
Yeah,
our meeting should start now. So I would suggest to postpone it a little bit to 12:30 or 12:40, because some people might need a break,
yes,
a lunch break. Or...
okay, so let's postpone it to 12:30.
Yes.
And maybe Jimantas one short question at the very end, because I left.
I can also ask it later directly, if
okay.
you want to cut it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was the last question. So let's finish now this part of the meeting, and you are welcome to join Aquatic Warbler Conservation Team meeting and 12:30. It will be chaired by Martin Flader. Thank you, and you will use the link which were provided on the chat. So please save it now, because when we switch off this Zoom meeting, also chat will be not available. So all
that's an old link, not a new link.
No, it's still old links, but
yeah.
You know, not all persons get this link before. So it is why I added again. I mean, it was done by Krzysztof. So please, or use it from invitation to the meeting distributed by Martin, or the person who had not it before, please take it now from the chat. So I will not switch the Zoom in next 5 minutes. You can use this opportunity to take this link. But anyway, for now, we are finishing this session and we will return at 12:30 back. Thank you.
Martin or Jarek, I have a question for the afternoon, please.
Yeah, please.
Do you hear me? Yeah, okay. I speak with Christian Kerbiou, the people who make the mathematical analysis I present yesterday. Mm-hmm. And if you agree, I propose him to participate of the afternoon today with the AWCT meeting, because perhaps he could give us a precise answer about what is possible or not possible, because I made the presentation, but I don't make the analysis. So perhaps it is interesting for us and for the discussion of the afternoon to have him with us. I don't know if you agree about that.
Yes, yes, he's welcome.
Okay.
He's welcome.
Okay, so yeah. the only detail, he's not available the whole afternoon. So he proposed me when I know when we will speak about this question, I phoned him, and then he came with us. It's possible, you think?
Yes, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ok, alors maintenant, arrêtez la vidéo. Ok, ouais, ok, déjà. Et comment on va trouver le truc de cet après, par contre?